Coming up on WFT's First at 5, 3 arrests made in connection to a tragedy that struck deep into the hearts of the community. We spoke to members of the community about their thoughts after the arrests.
Plus, a new bill prohibits camping in public areas, how this will affect the homeless, and more.
You're watching WUFT News.
Police arrested 3 people after a month of continuous follow-up investigations surrounding the .23 apartment homicide. This is First at 5. I'm Rafael de los Santos.
And I'm Charlize Ramos. Detectives have 14-year-old Mikhail Lawson, 15-year-old Kamon Lee, and 25-year-old Daquan Freeney in custody. The minors' photos have not been released. All 3 are charged with armed robbery and murder. Additionally, Freeney is charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. WFT's Justin Nitti has more on how neighbors in the area feel being in such close proximity to this tragedy.
The homicide happened at .23 Apartments a month ago. Following last night's arrest, I spoke with shop owners and neighbors in the area that are reflecting on safety and security because they're shocked this happened in their neighborhood. The community is mourning and reliving what led to a fatality and 3 arrests in Gainesville.
It's a tragedy whenever you hear about that stuff happening, especially when it happens on this side of town. For us, we consider ourselves a part of this community. We've been family owned and operating here in this location for 30 years.
TB Goods manager Chris Schindel believes in protection.
We take a lot of safety precautions. Obviously, we have bars on the windows, tons of cameras. There's a lot of security measures that we take because we hold people's items and we have their goods here and jewelry here. So it's real important that we do a lot of things to protect ourselves, protect the store, and protect our clients' merchandise.
One community member is concerned about her safety.
Do we change our venue? Do we change our living habits? And do we move to another secure place? I don't know. We just sit there and think, let's hope it doesn't happen to me.
This community member and Chris say the awareness strengthens their togetherness.
I think if it happens in your community, it's good when the community kind of bands together and everybody kind of opens up their eyes and looks out for this stuff and speaks up when it's time to speak up.
And if there were ever a time, Chris says this is it. Although arrests have been made, it's still an open investigation, and anyone with information is asked to contact the Gainesville Police Department. Live in Gainesville, Jessica Nitti, WUFT News.
Over 100 mistreated dogs are receiving emergency medical care after a rescue in Union County. WFT's Alex Land is live in the studio to explain why the operation occurred and how the canines are holding up.
Union County Sheriff's Office partnered with the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or ASPCA, for the rescue. The around 120 dogs, mostly Great Danes, were seized from a breeder that kept them in extremely unsanitary conditions and left them extremely underweight. UCSO found the mistreated dogs on a property in Providence. The Sheriff's Office requested assistance from the ASPCA for the rescue.
You just put them in cages and just feed them occasionally, and then you not feed them and you're not providing them with the help. It breaks the whole community's heart when something like this happens.
The ASPCA is relocating the dogs to emergency shelters to be treated for medical and behavioral issues. After rehabilitation, the dogs will be available for adoption. Live in the studio, Alex Land, WUFT News.
A bill targeting Florida's homeless population will soon become law.
The governor signed the bill earlier today. WUFT's Natasha Holt is live in the studio with the new power given to cities to combat the issue.
Governor Ron DeSantis spoke briefly about the law during the signing this morning in Miami. He says the law aims to meet the needs of homeless people while prioritizing community order and safety.
Florida's newly signed legislation, dubbed the Sleeping Bill, will directly impact local homeless neighbors like Danny. Danny, who only wanted to be identified by his first name, tells me that he's been living on the streets of Gainesville after a crash where he was seriously injured. Governor DeSantis signed a new law this morning that some proponents say criminalizes neighbors like Danny for being homeless.
There are needs that need to be met, but doing the San Francisco and New York model is not a way to get the job done.
Part of HB 1365 bans people from living on city-owned streets and local parks. The bill's signing comes just 1 month after Gainesville city leaders conducted what they call a gentle removal of individuals living on the sidewalks behind St. Francis House. But the law does offer help for the vulnerable neighbors. It calls for local governments to establish homeless camps and access to mental health and substance abuse treatments.
So we've seen what this has done to these communities, and we don't want that to happen here in the state of Florida.
Danny, who's a former Marine, tells me he desperately wants any help the government can provide, but has no way of finding out about the resources being offered.
The law also will start the implementation of state enforcement tools to make sure local governments comply. It will go into effect on October 1st.
Results are in for Florida's primary election. We'll tell you how voters showed up and what this means for upcoming presidential election. Plus, Alachua schools are bringing in a new program to help parents. We'll tell you how this is helping parents and their kids when First at 5 returns.
Former President Donald Trump trumps Florida's presidential preference primary Tuesday. This inches him even closer to an official rematch with President Joe Biden. As of right now, the former commander-in-chief has over 900,000 votes of the 1.1 million votes counted. But state election officials say this is the lowest turnout in a presidential preference primary in Florida since 2004, at 20% compared to 2020's 30% turnout. As for Florida's Democratic Party presidential primary, it has been canceled with support given to President Biden.
Alachua County Public Schools is implementing a coaching program that helps educate parents on their child's mental health. The free services allow parents to speak to a licensed psychiatrist and receive step-by-step resources. The district is partnering with ParentGuidance.org after an increase in mental health concerns following the pandemic. The main goal is to relieve student and family stress while increasing household bonds. School Administrator Antonique Edwards sees the benefits in nurturing healthier communications within families.
To be able to hear from a licensed clinician, to receive services, to know that they're not alone, but they can have not only support, but to use research-based responses to that is really important.
The services will provide weekly coaching calls, confidential help, and a 24/7 messaging system.
Deputies in Marion County say scammers are calling neighbors and threatening warrants for those who miss jury duty, and they are asking for bond money in the process. They use the names of deputies and judges and the sheriff's office address to convince callers. MCSO asks you to report the calls, and if you did miss your jury duty, contact the clerk of court. The sheriff's office says it will never accept payment over the phone. You can get your license back by paying overdue county obligations in full in Marion County. This is part of Operation Greenlight, an annual event by the Marion County Clerk of Court and Comptroller's Office. You can attend between April 8th to 12th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with certain days having extended hours to 5:30. The event will be in person, by phone, and virtually by applying for a criminal or traffic payment plan online on the clerk's website.
On Saturday, you'll see lots of planes in the air if you're near the Gainesville Regional Airport. It's to honor all branches of the military for Armed Services Appreciation Day. The airport and University Air Center are hosting Gator Fly-In, a free event from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. open to everyone at UAC. You can learn about aviation while you enjoy the festivities. Vendors, music, aircraft contests, and the Flown West ceremony to honor an aviator commander. Make sure to check out a live report from WFT, where we'll have a reporter covering the event from the air.
I'm timing out our next round of rain. I'll have the details for you on the other side of the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
This is such a gorgeous shot, not a cloud in sight, and that's thanks to all of that dry air we have over the area. Here's a live look over McIntosh right now. Temperatures here around 74 degrees, but it feels just 1 degree warmer at 75. Those winds are light. High pressure is the dominating feature over the area right now, and that's keeping all of that moisture away, especially over the next couple of hours. And we're seeing so little moisture that our humidity, highest being 100%, we're only at 23% and around 20 to 25% area wide. That could pose the threat for some fire danger this evening. So just be careful if you are going to burn anything outside, or if you plan on tossing those cigarette butts, it's probably a no-no this evening. Temperatures are jumping up around 10 degrees from where we were yesterday. We're at 72 degrees in Gainesville, 73 in Palatka, still seeing a couple 60s out along the Atlantic coast and 73 this evening in the Villages. Now, as we go over the next couple of hours, we'll be cool but less cool than where we were yesterday. We'll still see that clear sky dominating overnight tonight due to that high pressure still lingering in the area. But tonight, instead of mid-30s, we're looking at temperatures in the mid-40s, 44 in Gainesville, and low 50s out along the coast. Tomorrow, temperatures jump up to nearly 80 degrees. We'll have a daytime high in Gainesville at 79, and we'll see a light breeze out of the east that'll cause it to feel a little bit warmer. Mostly sunny skies tomorrow, but that dry air is going to have things feeling nice and refreshing. But as that moisture builds back in the forecast, we'll be jumping up to dew points that feel more humid this weekend. We do have another weekend system moving in. A warm front will start lifting to the north, and we'll see those rain chances increase throughout the day on Friday. That'll linger through around Saturday morning, maybe even the evening, depending on how slow this system moves. And that cold front will clear on out of the area. That dry air moves in, so we'll still be able to salvage a little bit of the weekend for Sunday. We are looking at pockets of almost 1.5 inches of rain north of town, about 1.25 inches along I-75, so not a whole lot of rain. So we're dry for now. Rain chances increase Friday into Saturday, and then as we dry out into the beginning of next week, those temperatures rise into the low 80s.
Coming up in sports, we'll dive into Gators men's basketball's potential first-round matchup in the NCAA tournament and why losing Micah Hand-Lockton could hurt this team. Also, Gators baseball loses another midweek game to an unranked team after some offensive struggles. All that and more after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Happy Wednesday, I'm Daniel Haviv. Let's talk some sports. After a deep run in the SEC tournament and a loss to Auburn in the championship game, Gators men's basketball earned a 7th seed in the NCAA tournament. Florida had an impressive run in Nashville but couldn't finish the job against Auburn. It was a tough matchup from tip-off as the Tigers' defense was in full effect and forward Johnny Broome could not be stopped offensively. Gators big man Tyrese Samuel believes it's all about discipline to be successful in March.
We just got to go out there and play smart, play without fouling, knowing when to give a good foul and not to. But I think we're ready.
Florida will begin their quest towards their 3rd national championship this Friday. Gators baseball hosted Jacksonville University in a midweek matchup. It was a bullpen game for the Gators with 8 pitchers making an appearance. And while their pitching has been a struggle this year, the real story of this game was the lack of offense. While the team finished with 9 hits, Florida left 11 runners on base, which ultimately left them 1 run short. The Gators were defeated 7-6 by the Dolphins and are now 12-8 on the year. They'll have to shake this one off as they prepare for a College World Series championship rematch this weekend at LSU. Number 10 ranked Gator softball heads on the road today to take on Florida Gulf Coast. Things are going well for Florida as they're coming off 3 straight wins over the weekend and are ranked top 5 in pretty much every statistical category. They'll be taking on an Eagles team that has only 4 home runs this season. This game is just underway. The Gators club hockey team won the D2 National Championship just a week ago. WFT's Jamie Goldman has an inside look on the team's success.
For many, spring break was a chance to relax, hit the beach, find some sun. But for Florida Gators club hockey, last week was the most important week of the year, Nationals. The team traveled to Pennsylvania to compete against 19 other schools and walked away as national champions.
When Florida Gators hockey arrived in Westchester, Pennsylvania for Nationals, they had one goal in mind: win.
We expected to honestly go deep.
I think all of us believed in our team. We believed in our offense, certainly.
But after advancing through round-robin play, the Gators found themselves on thin ice in the quarterfinal game, trailing 4-1 in the 3rd period.
That one was a little bit of a scare.
We were like, oh my God. We were not ready for this.
Although they were down a few goals, the team didn't back down and still believed in themselves to make the comeback.
We were like, we got this. Don't worry. We know what we have to do.
Right when we came out at the beginning of the 3rd and we got that first one, I think everybody knew that, it was going to be a closer game than the first 2 periods would have showed.
The Gators went on to score 5 unanswered goals in the 3rd period to complete the comeback and advance to the semifinal.
Shoots, big save, rebound covered. He shoots a rebound and he scores!
The Gators cruised past High Point University in the semifinals, setting up an all-Florida showdown against the number 1 ranked Florida Atlantic Owls in the championship game.
Us being the 1 and 2 seeds, Definitely a rivalry, probably for years to come.
There's always going to be bad blood between two Florida teams.
The Gators jumped out to an early 3-0 lead and never looked back, getting the win 8-4 en route to the program's first national championship.
Finally, in the end, the Division II crown belongs to the University of Florida Gators.
6 wins and a 35-pound trophy later, the Florida Gators are national champions. Live in the studio, Jamie Goldman, WUFT News.
And one final note, Gators women's swim and dive are competing in the NCAA National Championships in Athens, Georgia, beginning today and lasting throughout the weekend.
Charlize, thankfully, those Gators will be swimming indoors.
I know, it's mid-March and it's still 40 degrees outside. Things should be warming up though, right, Derrah?
Yeah, thankfully, the 40s are on the way out the door. We do hold on to them tonight, and then we slowly make our way back towards seasonable temperatures, with rain chances increasing as we head into the weekend. As we get into next week, though, temperatures finally reach the 80s once again.
Thanks for joining us. We're back here tomorrow for another edition of First at 5.
But your North Central Florida news is always on WFT.org and all of our social media platforms. Have a good night.